Well, welcome to this fourth iteration of our expression in civil society. As always, we are able to do this because of the generous patronage of the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist congregation. I still have not fixed my lighting situation, but hopefully that is a work in progress. Um, Today, we are doing part two of our discussion on feminism is good for the Western world. And really, we've been talking about the United States. I wanted to in the profound words of Jen Psaki, circle back to to Sharon and Paul, who had some things to say. Let's start with Sharon, and we'll go from there.
Well, I want to credit feminism
Okay.
for getting me out of a situation that prior to feminism would have been very difficult for a woman in my situation.
Okay.
And that was realizing that it was much easier for me to get a divorce
Hmm.
than it would have been for a woman in the 1940s or even
Yeah.
50s. And I have to give them the the movement credit
Mhm.
for making that a simpler process.
I think that that is almost certainly. I can't imagine that anybody could argue that that is not the case. Yeah. And actually, I would like to discuss that. I actually would like to discuss like marital pressure and social, the social, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the social construct around marriage. I think that would be useful. Um, did did you have did you want to expound on that at all, or can we put a pin in that and come back to it? It's up to you.
Well, I can say more about it now.
Okay.
Um, it was interesting that when I was engaged, I felt like I had made a lifetime commitment already, and I hadn't even been married.
Hmm.
And in examining my beliefs, in hindsight, I realized that there were some red flags during the engagement period, and I did not understand what those red flags implied. And I am grateful for what I learned in the marriage, but in hindsight, probably should have called off the engagement.
Right, right. Yeah, we could say more red flags than Chinese parade, right? Yeah, yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Uh,
Um, Frank has joined us. So hello, Frank. Although you are frozen, man. Oh, now you're unfrozen. Can you hear it? Oh, you you look disgusted. Okay. All right. Good opening thought. I would say that I can't imagine that everybody wouldn't agree that feminism has changed the marital dynamic greatly, whether it be divorce or also how we view the institution and how the institution, like the division of labor within the institution as well. Um, Now, of course, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, has it changed for the better? And I think that in your case, you were making the argument that the marriage needed to end, and feminism, in essence, was a contributing factor to that being socially acceptable. Therefore, feminism was good for you. Is that fair?
um, yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, in any of my rephrasing, if I get anything wrong, do not be afraid to tell me what I've gotten wrong. Paul, you
Well, it was,
oh,
excuse me, it was
sure.
more than socially acceptable.
Mhm.
It was fairer in the court system.
Oh, Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about that in when we get into a little bit more. That's interesting. I would like to hear more about that. But let's go to Paul for a moment.
I I think I missed the talk whether you were talking about privilege,
Hmm.
white privilege,
Oh, yeah.
and I watch a lot of media, and white privilege is built up quite a bit over the last several months since the George Floyd um, situation.
Well,
Uh,
Paul, real quick, I want to hear what you have to say. But uh, if you were to talk, for instance, about male privilege, that could be something. Um, but is what you have to say specifically about white privilege?
no,
Okay,
it's
okay,
it's privilege in general
okay, cool.
that I think there's been a lot of focus on white privilege, but there is also black privilege and I would imagine Asian privilege. Um, these just don't get the spotlight. Um, and we can talk about male privilege too. Um, that would probably be keeping in line with the feminism element
Mhm,
of tonight's talk. Um, I think that the male privilege is beginning to dissipate. I think that as feminism grows as a elemental part of our society, that male privilege is starting to wane,
mhm.
and I think that's a good thing. I mean, you always hear about these good old boy clubs. Eventually we'll be hearing about good old girl clubs.
You don't think we've ever had girls' clubs?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
they're always kind of like under the cover of other things.
Right.
Sub Rosa.
Sorry?
Sub Rosa.
Oh, Sabrosa. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So Paul, would you say that privilege is a negative thing where it exists?
Um, for those that have it or those that don't.
Well, I guess that answers the question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's interesting. I think this is going to feed into where I'd like to go with this, the same as with what Sharon had to say. So we've been joined by Frank and Anne. Frank, do you have access to your mic? Can you talk? You're right now you're muted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Do I sound okay?
You sound great.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
So Frank, you you weren't here for our first discussion, so I'm going to ask you the question that I asked the room last week, which is scale of 1 to 10. 1 being it's been a complete disaster, nothing good has come from it whatsoever. 10 being it's been perfect and society has benefited in every way. How would you rate feminism in general for the U.S.?
Um, it depends on what kind of feminism you're talking about. I
Let's
think
say all the waves, right?
all
From first
waves.
wave to second to third.
Well,
Um,
I guess probably like a 6 or a 7. I mean, I'm assuming for me and for a lot of women, I believe that gives women lots of confidence and incentive to definitely feel like they can do something about their lives and their individual selves, and not just pertain to the stereotype of staying at home and being the mother and child carer for, even though that's the majority of women want to have babies. But that doesn't mean that, you know, all women want to have babies. And so the small amount, or not small amount, but that chunk of women that don't want to stay home and don't want to be the care for uh, housewife, and be, and they want to work and they want to have, you know, a more of a career and do different things. I think feminism has greatly improved on their confidence and improved on making them feel like there's a place for them, and have them go forward and have a voice for them, and they feel at home, and they feel like they can have a community there,
Okay.
and
So
they don't.
yeah, but if it's like a 6 or a 7, that means that there's 4 or 3 that has not been good for society. And
Right.
yeah, so what about that part?
Well, I feel like you know, a lot of people now, um well, I guess I don't want to say like a lot, and I don't want to say, I do know that most women want to have babies. I know that that's the truth. But I do feel like there's this new thing about, um, you know, instead of equal outcome, uh, there's this incentive that we should be hiring just more women in general,
Okay.
rather than seeing what the person has going for them. You know,
Okay.
people are looking at gender more than the actual individual's uh, abilities.
So,
And
right. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't want you to feel cut off.
yeah,
I just want to make sure that we get to get to everybody. So is it fair to say that you disagree with equity over merit?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Great. And so okay. And I'm not skipping over Kim. And unfortunately, Anne dropped out. I don't know if she's having connection problems or if she just doesn't like the sound of my voice.
Yeah, I
Either
had connection problems earlier, so.
either is perfectly forgivable. Um, but yes, Kim didn't have anything specific to say, so hopefully you'll be able to jump in as we go forward. So I was thinking about last week, and I was thinking that we didn't really have anybody who was giving a strong dissenting view, right? So I would like to offer that up. So I'm going to step into character of a strident anti-feminist, right?
Ooh.
Yes, it'll be fun. Now, I don't actually believe a lot of the things that I'm going to be arguing, but I think that this will give the participants um, something to bounce off of, right? And so I'll use some arguments that are out there in the anti-feminist community. Just for the record, as far as I'm concerned, I think that my personal opinion goes like this, is that I think feminism was absolutely necessary, you know, regardless of whether it was good or bad for society. I think for the most part, we're still trying to figure that out. You know, I think everybody can come up with reasons why it was good. I think the reasons that people are saying are bad have merit. I think anytime you try to change society, regardless of how you try to change society, there are going to be positive and negative consequences. I keep going back to Thomas Sowell, right? Where Thomas Sowell says there are no such things or solutions, or there are no such things as solutions. There are only trade-offs. And sometimes trade-offs yield a better society, sometimes not. So that's my preface. I think feminism was necessary, and I think that now it's like an experiment, right? We've gathered the data from the feminist experiment, and now as a culture we have to figure out what to do with that. Okay, that's how I actually feel. But Okay, now I'm stepping into character. All right. And Julianne, I'll ask you to respond to this primarily. Okay.
Okay.
Feminism has been absolutely terrible for the Western world because it has usurped what is a natural order in especially the family structure, that essentially it's removed men from the homes by encouraging women to marry the state through a welfare system. Feminism is tied at the hip, if not, I mean, feminism actually comes directly from Marxist principles, right? But feminism is tied at the hip to socialism, and the socialist system is a completely anti-human system, right? And we can look at any communist nation that's ever existed, any socialist nation that's ever existed, to see evidence of the absolute degradation of what happens to the family structure. That's my open. I'm glad I got you to laugh. That's good. That's a good start.
First of all, you bring up communist and socialist countries. Poor Soviet Union after World War II. Every worker practically left that wasn't killed in the war or starved to death by Stalin's purges was a woman. And it was the women in the Soviet Union who kept that country alive. So let's dispense with that part of the argument.
Well, why? Wait.
The
Why does
old
that?
order worked just fine in a feudal or agricultural society. Once industrialization started taking effect, women did enter the workforce, and in part they were forced to feed themselves. If you look at Britain in the industrial age, it was horrific for everybody. Fast forward past World War II, women got a taste of the workforce, and it was good for society. It freed men to go to war. People recognized that women's contributions were significant, and after World War II, it was hard to push that genie back in the bottle. In terms of education, recently women hold more university are on a university track than men. And where do we put our educated women if not to work?
Mhm.
It does indeed have a profound impact on the family when it is overwhelmingly the woman who, after all that education and work, can't find decent or affordable childcare and has to quit work to take care of the kids. And the pandemic has shown us that the overwhelming majority of job losses in the last year have been amongst women,
Mhm.
and who literally are back at home taking care of children at a level not seen in 100 years.
Yeah. So, okay. So that, to me, that would seem to be an argument against feminism, right? Because as women go into the workplace, as they go into higher education, because of hypergamy, right? And hypergamy is something that is universal in human culture, right? That women marry at, or they mate
Mhm.
at their social status or higher, right? Men
Yeah.
mate at their social status or lower, okay? So to me, that would seem to be an argument for women not pursuing education, not pursuing work, right? Because then as they become more successful, the pool of men that they have to choose from as potential mates becomes smaller and smaller. And then
This
they end
is
up
the
having,
China problem.
yeah,
This
then they,
is the contemporary China problem. You've got millions of men who simply can't find a wife.
Well, it's the reverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you agree with me then that women should not pursue higher education and stay in the home, right?
Hardly. Hardly. You know, education benefits everybody. Women's education benefits everybody. If you want to go back to a contemporary model, you know, go visit the Taliban and see what that's done to Afghani women
Yeah.
and Afghani society.
I'm trying not to break character too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we open it up to the floor? How does the rest of the chat feel about this? Oh, nothing.
Oh, I can talk.
Okay.
So, I mean, I totally understand like where you're getting at here. Like the what like in Western society, because feminism is rooted in Marxism. I mean, they basically, I mean, in Sweden, they want, they'll give you paternity leave, 9 months paternity leave, which for me, I know, I mean, I'm not countering this. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that that's cool at all, because if there's if there's a no one working, then who's gonna help the family? So I understand maternity leave, and I understand that people are uh, need to leave the. I mean, the mom needs to leave the house when she's working, but I mean, needs to leave work when she's pregnant and when she has her baby. But a lot of jobs will even they definitely consider that when they're hiring a woman, because women in their 30s usually will want to be to have babies. They're more likely to have babies past 30. So the feminist movement definitely made it to where you were more likely to get a job and go out and make money and not worry about having babies, not don't worry about the family, and rather worry about the equality for all and equality and working incentive. And so I definitely can see where it can be frustrating for some people to think that it's ruining the natural order of things. But if people want to go out and have the jobs that they're having, I mean the medical field has a plethora of is dominant, it's female dominant, and so that is amazing. That's super amazing,
Yeah.
and I'm so happy about that.
I heard, I was reading that in veterinary science,
Yes, yeah,
it's I don't know what the actual numbers are. I was reading something like 60% or something.
yep. When I went to my vet con, when I was working at as a veterinary assistant, um, most veterinarians that were speaking were female.
Mhm.
So that was really cool.
Mhm.
So it it's very nice to see that. So it's not all male dominant anymore. There's lots of fields that are not male dominant at
Oh,
all.
sorry, Julianne, you're in the dark. Were you raising your hand?
I was.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know this
Yeah.
dark thing is
It's
just
okay. It's okay.
crazy.
Please go
You
ahead.
know, the socialist model that you mentioned earlier
Mhm.
is very good now in giving parents time off to bond with their child.
Mhm.
France, it's like almost a year for the mother and 2 to 3 months for the dad. And this is specifically in order to strengthen the families. The city offices in France have people to come help you with your newborn and et cetera, in order, and they recognize that both parents need to go back to work, and the city will support them with services to help them do that if they wish. So it's an interesting take, but there is a greater investment in social services in a socialist country. Duh.
But Julianne, who's going to pay for that? I mean, you know,
It is paid for. It's, do you know their tax rate is higher? They
but
don't invest in nuclear bombs, so they have more money for their
now
populace.
wait a minute. In the 90s, they set off plenty of nuclear bombs under the ocean.
Well, France did, but Austria didn't.
Okay,
You know,
fair enough.
right?
Yeah, no, no. You see, I can't do it because actually, I'm in support of that nurse's home visit kind of thing. So, I have to go with you on that. Yeah, Frank, I don't know. I don't want you to feel like put on the spot or anything, but I do feel like you're in a unique position to talk about some of these things. You know, is that okay? Is that
Yeah. I
yeah?
was just going to argue again that just I wouldn't I think 2 months is okay for a dad,
Okay.
but I just 9 months for a dad to be out of work, I just feel like, you know, is just way too much, and I think that's why
So
America didn't do that.
so
I mean,
who
I understand. I like the nurses, and I
yeah.
like those people coming and helping. But if I mean the male is supposed to go out and take care of the family.
And
Right, but
that's a very traditional
oh yeah, I see a Sharon.
view.
Yeah,
Yep.
but Frank, who is it unfair to? Who is it being unfair to that the man takes 9 months off?
Unfair. I mean, I think it's unfair I think it's unfair to the family.
Uh,
I think it's unfair
Wait,
that
but hang on. If he's home with the family with family leave, right? Then and he's making money, then wouldn't the family benefit from him being home?
not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, why should he be home? What would he be doing all the time? He could be cleaning. I mean, he could
Right.
be helping out. He could be helping out cleaning.
That's a big deal for
Because
with a newborn.
that
Yeah.
is. And so a couple, you know, a couple months, but for 9 months where he's not um helping in a sense of um where it's just being paid for by the state, or because he has a
Okay.
job that because
So it's not fair to taxpayers.
no, because
Oh,
we didn't have this baby.
right. Okay. All right.
We
Okay.
didn't pay for this baby,
Okay.
you know.
Sharon wanted to get in, so I wanted to.
Okay, I want
Absolutely.
to speak to clarify that the father is getting paid paternity leave.
Mhm.
Because I didn't understand that fully.
Right.
And certainly, I don't know what kind of job the father might have, but to have a healthy human being with a balanced attitude of parental responsibilities is a huge tribute to society,
Okay.
Mm,
Okay.
in
absolutely.
my opinion.
I want to interject. I
Mhm.
just looked this up. Couples are required, and this is Sweden. Couples are required to split their parental leave.
Mhm.
Huh.
So they have to take parental leave at different times.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
parents split the
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, you know, it's interesting, you know, that some of these nations, Japan is a good example. I think Sweden, Norway, Denmark are all also good examples of
Canada,
what, sorry?
Canada.
Canada to a lesser degree. But yeah, I agree. Canada. I think that these are all really good examples of social experiments of how the group can be taken care of in the modern world, right? So how do we use technology and our cohesive society to care for one another? And it will be interesting to see from my perspective, and this is how I actually feel, um, how the children who are being born in this kind of like brave new world, not to use that as a derogatory, but how they turn out. Will they turn out to be more well-adjusted, happier, more able to bond, or will something else happen? And I hope I live long enough to see the result of that.
Me too.
Yeah. Let's talk about male female relationships, because that was part of anti-feminist. I'm going to go back to anti-feminist Michael for a second. All right, so here's a bold statement that by separating reproductive consequences from sex, it has encouraged a level of promiscuity that is absolutely detrimental to our society.
Oh, I agree with that.
Oh. Does anybody disagree with that?
Let me restate what I think you said.
Okay.
Feminism has been detrimental to society because of looseness around morality,
Essentially, yes.
relationships.
Yeah, I would say birth control pill plus condoms plus, even though these things have been around for a while, but the idea that a woman ought to desire the same kind of sexual mores that men desire, right, has led to a level of social degeneracy that is terrible for our society.
Oh, it's the woman's fault?
It's partially the woman's fault.
Okay.
It's yeah. Well, okay. So let me clarify, and you can respond, Julianne.
Okay.
That feminism pushes an idea that there is no difference between the sexual desire of women and the sexual desire of men, right? So it encourages young women to behave without any regard to sexual repercussions, right? So the more partners a woman has in her lifetime, and this is not true for men, it's true for women, the more sexual partners a woman has in her life basically obliterates her ability to bond with the man that she eventually would spend her life with, right? So every new sexual partner you have basically increases your chance of divorce by about 10%.
That's true.
Wow. This is almost misogynistic, I think.
Yeah.
How so?
I really do. It's
Mhm.
the fact that the invention of birth control that saved women's lives ultimately 50 years down the road, or 60, however many it's been, has led to rampant promiscuity.
Partially.
Yeah, and men have not contributed whatsoever, even though they spend $19 billion in the U.S. on internet porn every year.
I think that's a low estimate.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be a low estimate.
It totally, yeah, they spend so much money on
Yeah.
porn.
And so it's, I mean, well, there's one viewpoint. Society is utterly degenerate, and it's a fast race to the bottom. But feminism cannot be blamed for that current state. I think
You don't think that feminism has
No.
any responsibility for encouraging young women to seek multiple sexual partners?
feminism did not
Oh, okay.
encourage women to seek multiple partners.
Interesting.
No.
My body, my choice.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank. Yeah, I know you said my body, my choice, but do you want to expound on that?
So feminism's very big on women reclaiming their sexuality, women reclaiming their bodies, and women being the owners of their bodies, and no one has a right to their body but themselves and their sexuality, and it's your choice how you want to display your sexuality and how you want to use it. They're very feminism is very prominent about being positive about sex workers. And so sex work, and I'm not saying that sex work is bad at all. I mean, anyone who is a consenting adult should have every right to be whatever they'd like. But at the same time, in the same breath, when you have contraception, contraception is a device to where you don't have babies. And so when you don't want to have babies, it's usually because you're having sex before marriage, or with someone that you're not ready to have babies with, or you're not ready to have the baby yet at that given point. So when you are in a circumstance where you are in that choice where you do end up with a baby, a lot of younger women are like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I was on birth control, or the condom broke, or this depot shot didn't work, and I'm terrified. And back in the day, before all that, you knew what was coming. You had to get married, and that was that. And so there's definitely this, I believe, new terror and new not sure what's going on when you have a baby. And that's not all because of just feminism, but it's because of, the contraception makes it to where you don't have to worry about that as much.
Right.
And
Let me
Yep.
interject.
You
It
got
has
it.
also removed the responsibility of men in the
well, of
equation.
course, yeah,
Yep.
men,
And
But
men say it all the time.
yeah.
right.
They say it all the time, go get
Well,
an abortion, or you're on the pill, right? You're on the pill,
mhm.
right? So I
Right.
can, don't have to wear a condom, right? So there is that oh well, it's
But
just we have contraception now, so it's not a big deal.
right. Well, let me use a Ben Shapiro argument real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is Ben Shapiro. He says that for generations, the world has known that men, that not all men, I'd like to think I'm not this, but that men are pigs. Men act like pigs, right? And what feminism did is, instead of demanding better of men, it said that women could act like pigs also. So now we just have a generation of pigs running around.
There's some, but I don't think
That was
all.
that was paraphrased. That was
Yeah.
paraphrased from Ben Shapiro. That's not an exact quote. But does anybody? No, I expected that to get something.
I that is so vulgar.
It is.
So vulgar. Wow. I can speak on things many years ago. I certainly have no experience today, but it was never the intention to raise an entire generation or two of promiscuous men and women. Okay. And so I don't know if it's marketing, if it's a cultural shift. What is it?
That's a good. Yeah.
Because I think it's a failure of home training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Okay. So let me break character again. Julianne, do you believe that rampant promiscuity? Do we all agree that rampant promiscuity exists? First off, yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
Okay. So do you believe that it's a problem? Is the next question.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Sharon says yes. Kim says yes.
Three
Julianne, Paul,
dissenters, three aren't voting.
yeah, Paul,
I hate to go there
yeah,
because I'd like to think that's not the case,
that it's not a
but
problem, or
but it might be right.
okay, okay. So then the question is, yeah, where does it come from? What is feeding this? Um, I mean, yeah, go for it, Paul.
Actually, I tend to think that it is marketing.
Okay,
That's what okay.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've seen over the years, I mean, when I was going to high school, we used slide rules, and then
Yes.
technology came into being with calculators and next thing you know, computers. And I think that technology fights for your attention to sell you something. This is consumerism.
Absolutely.
And so they inject sex into as much things as they can.
Yeah.
So I believe that sexuality is being forced upon the consumer at a much higher rate than it was pre-computer
Yes.
technological age.
That is
Yes.
certainly the case. Yeah, Frank, I see you. But real quick, so does everybody what was that? Come at me, bro. Is that what you just did? No. Did
So,
does everybody remember the scandal, the Netflix scandal about the movie Cuties?
Yes.
So,
No.
mhm.
Okay, so Paul says yes. Did any brave souls watch it?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you did. Okay. Yeah, I got super curious
I
also.
watched it.
Yeah. And so for me, what was interesting about that film is that the sexuality part was like the least disturbing part of that movie, right? For me. Because, and the reason why, and maybe it shouldn't have been, but for me, the reason why it was the least disturbing part is I've seen TikTok videos. I've been on Instagram, right? I've been on YouTube. The things that the girls were doing in this movie were pretty tame compared to the stuff that's actually out there. And that is troubling to me in a way. Frank wanted to get in. Yeah. Oh wait, Sharon, did you get your thoughts out, or am I skipping over you?
I was agreeing with Paul. I think
Okay.
it's marketing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the almighty dollar is
Yeah.
pushing it.
Yeah.
I think marketing also has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
And it wasn't until just a few moments ago that I realized what a doctor was trying to push on me was probably marketing.
Mhm.
I had done a research paper in college on the birth control pill, which was brand new at that time. And I realized it changed body chemistry and altered hormones.
Yes, it
And
does.
I thought, why would any woman knowing this want to put her body through that?
I have
And I
heard.
had a doctor telling me that that is exactly what I needed to do.
That's
And
amazing.
I said, no, I'm not going to do that.
I've heard that there is so much birth control in the water that we have more like intersex fish than because women are all on the birth control pill, and they are it's in their bloodstream. It goes into their urine and their feces when they flush it down the toilet, and then it
Yep.
seeps into the water
Yes,
supply.
in our water supply. Think of
Right.
that when you drink your city
I,
water.
yep, I do now. Yeah,
And think
Frank
about young women,
yeah,
young girls.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank wanted to get in for a while. Sorry, Frank.
So, well, first I wanted to talk about the sex, the sexy, why everyone's sexy all the time. And it's because think about how you would just go and look at it like a Playboy, now, like any kind of porn, anything you want, any fantasy you want is at the touch of your fingertips because of internet. So they're constantly raising the sexuality bar, even in commercials. I mean, you see it all the time, how risque everything is. It's ridiculous. And I wanted to touch on So yeah, I agree that it's totally, they're sexualizing. I mean, they're sexualizing toys. I look at the My Little Ponies and the new, everything's just curvier and curvier, every Barbie doll. But I wanted to touch on the birth control because I take birth control and I've been taking it since I was 12. And it's because of my migraines. I have terrible, terrible migraines on my periods. And they wanted me to take it all the time. They said, "Oh, you don't have to skip a week. You could just take your birth control every week, all the time." And I was like, isn't it bad to not have a period?" And they're like, "No, no, no, it's fine. Just you can not have a period." And I was like, "Okay, that doesn't sound right, but okay." And I told my mom that, and she's like, "No, don't listen to them. Like, you need to have a period. Like, if you don't have a period for a really long time," my friend, I don't remember her friend's name, but she was on a shot and she didn't have a period for like months and months and months and months. And then she finally did, and it was the worst period of her life. So it definitely messes with you. So it's not good. Any kind of hormones, it's not good.
Yeah. So okay. Well, we've had kind of a robust discussion, and thank you to everybody who's been part of it. We're running out of time, right? So what I would like to do, if it's okay with everybody, is just kind of get some closing thoughts on the conversation in general. I don't expect this to really change your view on anything, but maybe did you rethink anything? Are you thinking anything now? In like some final things to say. How about if we start with Kim? And you can pass if you want.
I'm just wondering, with all this sexual freedom, how it affects families,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good question.
children, you know, and their upbringing, and then you have a lot of divorce going on, so you have a lot of single families
Mhm.
going on, and that can't be good either.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, Paul.
Um, I think that this is a subject that we can continue along.
Forever.
We said that last week,
Right.
but we managed to fill up a whole hour and still not barely scratched the surface.
It's true.
I am a big fan of feminism,
Okay.
although I do think that sexuality is a marketing tool now, and
Yeah.
I think that we're hypersexualizing our children, and I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on the true feminist movement.
Okay.
Um, I think it gives mixed messages to girls um, that equate feminism with sexuality and use sexuality as means of being feminist. I don't know if that makes any
Well,
sense.
control, right? We could say that sexuality equals control for a lot of young women. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you, Paul. Julianne, I'm sure you have nothing to say.
Oh, nothing. No, me. Speechless. I'm
Right.
I'm interested to learn that at least a couple other people um, feel as I do about the role of advertising in um, I guess you would call it, uh, using a very old term, rampant sexuality. Um, but it's marked in my lifetime. Um, Fashion is absolutely sexualized. We have not discussed um, the role of gender now, which is taking precedence over discussions of feminism,
That's true.
and that is a huge discussion, and I think
forgot about
that's
that.
where the emphasis on I mean, it's just taken over the discussions of gender roles.
Mhm.
But I do think that we do live still in a patriarchy here in the United
Oh, we
States.
never got to patriarchy.
And I want to do patriarchy,
Okay.
Michael.
All right. Next week, next week we got to do patriarchy. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you finished or?
I'm finished.
Okay.
I'm finished.
And thank you, Julianne, for being the counterpoint tonight.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it. Frank, you want to talk about transgenderism or?
Oh, hey everybody, I'm trans and I'm Frank. And I've learned a lot about lots of stuff this year. And in this talk, I learned about, I don't know, I had a really good discussion about paternity leave.
Yeah.
And I learned a little bit about that and about the nurses will come out and hang with you. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were that helpful in France. So, and I'm Belgian, so I'm pretty close to them.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful, and I enjoyed, talking to all of you guys. It was really nice.
And I should say a special thank you. I've said it before, but I do believe that it is vital that that we hear from young people, right? And you fulfilled that need tonight, because the church doesn't often hear from young people.
No,
Yeah.
it's a glaring lack
Mhm.
of voice.
So you're doing us a great service, Frank.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, whenever I get time on Sundays, I'll try and be there.
That's awesome. And last but certainly not least is Sharon.
I missed something. What are we doing? Final
just
thoughts?
closing thoughts. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate how open everybody is with a stimulating conversation. It's keeping me sane.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
The interaction with people has, it's limited.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
So,
true.
I really appreciate all of this. It makes me think deeper,
Oh,
more
same.
deep.
And I can echo that. Same here. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and thank you, all of you. I do feel like I come out of these things a little bit sharper because of you. So, so thank you. And if you can make it next week, you will make my night. So I hope
And we're
you all.
talking about patriarchy.
Let's talk about patriarchy. Yes.
Patriarchy!
Yay. All right. Have a beautiful night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.